Well, Stats SA new suicide data put the number of suicide incidents experienced annually in the country at 585. It attributes the abuse of alcohol in the Northern Cape and the Western Cape to the high number of suicides in both these provinces. Well, according to the World Health Organization, a suicide occurs every 40 seconds and an attempt is made every 3 seconds globally. In South Africa, hanging is the most frequently employed method of suicide, followed by shooting, gassing and burning. In South Africa, 60% of people who commit suicide are indeed depressed. The suicide crisis helpline is 0800 567 567. Well, to chat some more, we have in studio Tracy Feinstein. She's a senior counsellor with the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Good afternoon, Tracy, and thank you for your time on the SABC News Desk.
Thank you.
Tracy, we're well into the holiday season. Why does this act as a trigger for depression and maybe even suicide tendencies?
Yes. I think, the holiday time is very much perceived to be a family time.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's a time where often people reflect on non-performance. People may have lost jobs, and people sadly may have lost loved ones. We look at the horrific road accidents.
Yes.
Okay, and that is a time of sadness and grieving. And not everybody handles this kind of loss in the same way. So for a lot of people, they'll end up experiencing depression.
Is there a definite link between depression and suicide? And what is depression? Could you break it down first, Tracy?
Okay. Let me start with what is depression. Depression is really classified as a long-term period of deepened sadness. So it's more than just you having your blue Monday, you don't feel like going to work, you're not happy. Clinically, they actually put it over, had been sad and been in a state of withdrawal and not behaving in a normal way, which is for yourself a normal way, over a period of 2 weeks. Not everybody who is depressed will commit suicide. However, unfortunately, there is a close link. And so I think when people do not then recognize the symptoms, they do not recognize the signs for what is either happening to themselves or a loved one, the longer that it is left untreated, it could lead to suicide.
What are some of those warning signs one should look out for, Tracy?
Okay, so some of the warning signs are typical behavior changes. And especially at this time of the year, very often people will say, I don't want to go out with my friends. I'd rather just stay at home by myself. So that is one type of thing. Eating habits changing. For some people, they eat too much. Other people eat too little. Sleeping patterns. So with a place like SADC comes in to try and help people is we really try and share with them sort of self-help tips. Okay, because you don't have all the medical fraternity available at this time of the year as well. So not everybody can take themselves off to a doctor to try and get help.
Are the risk factors posed for young people, the youth, different from adults? We are approaching a time of year where matric results would be released soon, and this is a very anxious time.
Yes. Yeah. So I think for the teenagers and for the youngsters, and sadly, the suicide rate for youngsters is actually getting younger and younger, which is extremely concerning. So number one, parents at this time really need to be aware of what their children and who they are interacting with in social media. Be very aware of their results coming out in terms of have they performed at school? How have they done? How are they coping? Are they online with their goals? And it's a time where you really need to bond and connect. So I think to come down hard on children and to be able to say, you know what, this is not good enough, I'm not happy with you, and the children will perceive it as almost like punishment. That's the type of thing that triggers depression.
Very quickly, Tracy, the Northern Cape and the Western Cape really red flagged in the Stats SA report for the link between suicide, alcohol and substance abuse. Are those who use drugs and substances and narcotics, are they more prone to suicide, and if so, why?
Yeah, there certainly is a link between substance abuse and suicide. I think sadly the cycle of addiction when it comes to alcohol and other forms of substance abuse is dramatic, and So number one, there's the physiological effect that happens to a person's body during those ups and downs and the highs and lows of addiction. And when people are addicted, there's often a very close link to loneliness. So therefore, they become hopeless. And that is one of the key elements of suicide, is that the person sees no more purpose, and they are ultimately totally hopeless, and that's when they decide to end their life.
Very quickly, Tracy, what are some of the services on offer at SADC right now, and how do members of the public contact?
Yeah, perfect, thank you. Well, SADC is open 7 days a week. We open as a call centre basis, so the telephone number is on the screen, I'm sure. Also our website, people can SMS us, they can email us. They can go onto our website and make contact with us. And at this point in time, there is a counsellor available 7 days a week from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. And we will do our best to either talk that person through the process or, if appropriate, refer them for medical help.
Thank you for your time. Tracy Feinstein, she's a senior counsellor with the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Well, let's move on to some other news now.